Welcome to Speak for America. I'm Bill Spadea. It is great to have you with us on our brand new show, from the biggest national and international headlines to the important local stories in New Jersey, California, and everywhere in between. America, we've got you covered. Let's get started. The U.S. military completed its 12th consecutive night of strikes on Iran, hitting maritime facilities, missile and drone storage sites, and coastal surveillance positions. Oil prices continue climbing amid the escalating Mideast instability, rising sharply after the collapse of the Trump-brokered Memorandum of Understanding that had briefly halted the fighting. Turning to Washington, Speaker Mike Johnson scored a major win Wednesday as House Republicans advanced President Trump's top election priority in a razor-thin 216 to 214 vote. The House approved a budget framework that includes the Save America Act, using reconciliation to push through federal voter ID and proof of citizenship requirements.
But we're having a hard time in the Senate. The Senate, what they're doing is just not right. Congress is going to pass it again. They passed it 3 times. They're going to pass it again. It's like the Senate is a place that you send things when you want them to die. When they can't get past voter ID, proof of citizenship, no mail-in ballots because they're crooked as hell.
Speaker Johnson saying they only need 50 votes plus J.D. Vance's vote in the United States Senate to pass the Save America Act. Turning to New Jersey, New Jersey's Democratic Governor Mikey Sherrill announced that a software glitch, so-called glitch, in the state's motor vehicle system improperly registered roughly 6,600 non-citizens to vote between June 2023 and June 2024. Now, Trenton officials say the individuals answered no when asked if they were U.S. citizens, but the system registered them anyway. Sherrill said her administration has removed them from the rolls. Preliminary numbers show about 400 of those newly registered individuals actually voted.
This entire situation is unacceptable. It's unacceptable that the vendor released software with such a glaring error. It's unacceptable that the MVC took a year to get this issue fixed. And it's unacceptable that no one in the previous administration brought this to light, demanded accountability, or took action when it happened years ago.
Of course, blaming the glitch and going after the vendor in the previous administration completely ignores the Department of Homeland Security, showing that there are at least 35,000 other non-citizen voters. It, of course, it loses any conversation of what has happened. We've had illegal non-citizens voting back to 2015 and even as far back as 2020. And the governor, of course, said nothing about that. Now, she pointed the finger at Idemia. This is the software company, but she didn't say anything about anything in the past. She just said they are the problem. Now, they provided a statement. Idemia's role is to transmit information through the motor vehicle system. The voter registration information is transmitted to the New Jersey Department of State Division of Elections, which is ultimately responsible for verifying eligibility to vote. The company said in a statement, information submitted by Idemia must still be validated and adjudicated by the Division of Elections. All 23 New Jersey Assembly Republicans have signed a letter demanding Speaker Coughlin create a special legislative committee on election integrity with full subpoena power. The Republican lawmakers say an internal executive branch investigation into the state's voter registration failures is simply not enough. They argue the legislature has an independent responsibility to fully investigate what went wrong and restore public confidence in New Jersey's election. Joining me now, Assemblywoman Aura Dunn. Now, she's been sounding the alarm on voter roll integrity for years. Great to see you, Assemblywoman. Thanks for taking the time.
Good to see you, Bill. Thank you for having me.
Aura, I brought this up earlier. We've got Mark Wayne Mullen and the Department of Homeland Security saying you got at least 35,000 additional non-citizens on your voter rolls. We have had the U.S. Attorney's Office actually push indictments for non-citizens who voted in 2020. Governor ignored all of that, seemingly wanting us to think that a software glitch is the only problem we have in Jersey. You buying that?
Not for 1 second. And listen, I'm originally from Brooklyn, so we'd say software glitch might beep, but I'm not going to say that on the network here. This is rooted in this is a people problem. This is a leadership problem. This is something that, as you mentioned, I've been sounding the alarms on since the beginning. Even at one point during budget hearings, had the Secretary of State agree with me in terms of my idea on how to prevent this from ever happening.
You actually went back to 2019 and pointed out that there were weaknesses in the MVC motor voter process. So what red flags were ignored? And can you specifically address what a lot of folks are reporting now and saying that this was essentially a negative checkoff, that you had to say specifically no, otherwise you'd be automatically registered. So either the system didn't flag it or somebody did it on purpose?
Yeah, hard to say. And listen, I introduced legislation that just said this is to avoid inadvertent, right? We're not going to put intent behind it. But why would an ineligible voter ever be presented with the option to register? It really is a simple, may I say, paperwork fix. And we wouldn't have had to have this whole routing and to ask a clerk. And everybody has an experience with the Motor Vehicle Commission, right? And it's usually not pleasant. They're processing millions of transactions each day, and to expect that they are now the gatekeeper of our democracy, it's just absurd that they're supposed to check all of that. And there obviously are language barriers. It could go on and on. So.
Aura, what are the Republicans going to do in terms of going back to the root of this problem? If we isolate these 6,600, forgetting the 35,000, forgetting the fact that that was only one quick glance, and forgetting the fact that the Attorney General here is suing the Trump administration, all the mess going on, trying to avoid looking into our voter rolls. This goes back, the 6,600, to the fact that we had a Republican nominee, 21 and 25, supporting driver's licenses for illegals. Some of us were shouting from the rooftops in 2020 saying, this is a terrible idea. Will the Republicans push forward to end this nonsense that illegals get driver's licenses in New Jersey? Like we learned nothing from 9/11.
Right. I mean, it all comes down to it's rooted in the sanctuary state status of this state, right? We all, if you say the word wall, it creates a lot of controversy, right? But I've always said the way to address this is looking at our invisible walls, breaking down those invisible walls. That's Social Security cards that get issued, tax IDs. And here we have driver's licenses. Also in the state of New Jersey, you can be here legally, but get an occupational professional license.
Which is incredible to me. There's no checks and balances. There's no accountability. Now, the governor actually called these 400 plus illegals who voted victims. Do you think they ought to be prosecuted?
Really, victims? Okay, that one's new. I got stuck on software glitch. Absolutely. I thought that they were. They should be an apprehension, and that's why Republicans are calling for a thorough investigation and calling for hearings on this.
Do you think, Aura, if you're looking ahead, I mean, I've said a lot of things, and I've been critical of the Republican Party, and I do that saying that hopefully we can help them get better at this job of building a new majority to fight the Democrats. But it seems that we finally have some unity in the Republican Party. Do you think this could be a wedge issue heading into the June primary in 27 and the Cheryl midterms coming up, where you're going to have every member of the legislature up for re-election? Is this the kind of thing that Republicans can use to unite the base and bring in those unaffiliated voters, which is the only hope of gaining some ground in either house?
I do. I think it opens the door to bring that in, right? I've always said I think the road to unity, to bring, to bridge this divide, is actually through good governance. That is not a political party issue. We want to see good governance. We want to see accountable, transparent government for the people. So this is a start, but then we also have to, as a Republican caucus, to also talk about how we're going to address those bread and butter issues, right? Are we, affordability, education. So this is a door opener. I believe that.
Now, I don't mean this to put you on the spot in any way, so you can pass on to the next question, but do you think now there's time for a conversation in the Republican caucus to talk about some of the conflicting arguments? You've got Republican lawmakers involved and embroiled in a lawsuit against the Trump administration over the potential of a Roxbury detention center. You've got some Republicans still championing the idea that illegals will have driver's licenses. Do you think there's an opportunity now for the caucus to actually talk to one another and say, hey, can we stop that and get on the same page? There's only one mission here. We've got to deal with the estimated 900,000 illegals who are here, or this is going to start happening. This is going to continue to happen.
Absolutely. And I will say, Bill, because I'm in that room, right? And it's a smaller room these days. But those conversations are happening.
Good.
The issue, we can do a whole other segment in terms of, potential of conflicts of interest and things like that. And that actually, we could talk about that for both sides of the aisle in terms of how New Jersey is, who's leading New Jersey and their other activities, let's say.
Do you think this potential of a scandal has taken Mikey Sherrill off of the short list to be someone's VP in the 28 election? Because there are a lot of rumors going around that that's what she wants, and Gavin Newsom seems to be poised to be the Democrat nominee. Obviously, it's way too early to really speculate, but do you think this has hurt her nationally?
Gee, I haven't thought that far. I know I might be unlike so many of us that we love, looking through our crystal ball.
We love to speculate, right?
Yes, we do. But I do know that the public's memory is short, right? So should this carry through until the next, election season? Possibly. I will tell you that my office is getting calls like it hasn't gotten before on this issue from people, not just in my district, but outside.
Do you buy that the governor said she's disgusted, she's going to purge the rolls? Do you think that this is now an opportunity to hold her feet to the fire to say, don't stop at the 6,600? You've got 35,100 named just recently by the Department of Homeland Security, and we know there must be more. Is this the opportunity to actually clean up New Jersey?
I hope so. You read my mind, Bill, because I was thinking not just this instance. Well, first of all, we know we've got to go back. Those numbers came from just a 12-month calendar. So that I don't know if there was maybe one election in there.
Right.
But this, we know we've got to go back. But also, the state put in a lot of money and went into this ERIC arrangement where other states talk to one another to get, people off the rolls, whether they're now registered in another state or let's do it. And you're saying, you could talk to any household. They say, I'm still getting ballots from someone who the previous owner or I think it could be a wholesale housekeeping, which I love. So I will certainly be keeping the governor's feet to the fire on that.
I love it.
I didn't know it could happen that quickly. She said, let's get it done.
Right. If she can do it for one, she can do it for all the rest. Exactly. Assemblywoman Aura Dunn, always great to see you. Keep the faith, keep the fight. We'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Got it. Record illegal immigration under the Biden years, I mean, millions and millions of people coming across the border unchecked, may now be threatening election integrity. Certainly, we're seeing evidence of this pop up all over the country. Now, the border crossings have plummeted under President Trump. You got to ask, how deep, though, does the problem go? And what's the real cost to America? Up next, Joshua Treviño. He is a senior director at the America First Policy Institute. He's going to help us break it down. But first, a word from one of our great sponsors, Larry Steinhaus's Financial Tip of the Week, real-world money advice you were never taught in school, from investing in passive income to protecting your wealth and making smarter financial moves. Larry, good to see you. What do you got for us?
All right, Bill, here's what I got for you today. One of the biggest mistakes investors make is confusing news with strategy. Every day there's another headline: interest rates, tariffs, elections, inflation, wars, earning reports. And if you reacted to every one of those headlines, you'd spend your entire life buying high, selling low, and wondering where your money went. Successful investors don't build wealth by predicting the next headline. They build wealth by following a disciplined plan. Think about it this way. If your retirement isn't 10 or 20 years away, does it really matter what today's headline is? What you really should do is worry about the value of great companies over the long term. And usually, if you do that, things are going to work out for you. Instead of asking, what's the market going to do tomorrow? Ask yourself, am I invested in a way that helps me reach my financial goals? That's exactly why I spend so much time teaching people how to generate income, manage risk, and understand investments instead of chasing hype. Knowledge gives you confidence, and confidence keeps you from making emotional decisions. And of course, if you'd like to learn how to become a smarter investor, join us here at Investor Schooling. We teach everyday people how to take control of their financial future using strategies that most people were never taught in school. Remember, wealth isn't built by reacting to the news. It's built by making smart decisions constantly over time. I'm Larry Steinhaus, and that's your financial tip of the week.
Larry Steinhaus, thank you very much. Visit investorschooling.com for more info. Welcome back to Speak for America. I'm Bill Spadea. Assistant Attorney General Harmeet Dillon is doubling down on the Justice Department's demand for New Jersey's voter registration data after Governor Mike Sherrill admitted that more than 6,600 non-citizens were added to the rolls through the motor voter process, with roughly 400 of them casting ballots. Dillon gave the state 5 days to turn over names, registration dates, precincts, and voting methods, calling it essential to ensure U.S. citizens' votes are not diluted. The move comes as the DOJ continues its lawsuit against New Jersey for access to the full electronic voter database. Congressman John Rose is calling for a special prosecutor to investigate New Jersey's voter registration scandal. The Tennessee Republican sent a letter to acting Attorney General Todd Blanche urging him to appoint an independent prosecutor to examine how thousands of non-citizens ended up on the state's voter rolls. Rose says anyone who failed to uphold election laws must be prosecuted regardless of party. Now, let's be honest here. What we are seeing unfold in New Jersey is a symptom of much larger crisis. An open southern border during the 4 years of Joe Biden that allowed millions of illegal immigrants into the country was inexcusable. But now here we are. The estimates are anywhere from 10 to 17 to 20 million people. In New Jersey, the estimate is that there are somewhere around 900,000 people here illegally. Even the Department of Homeland Security says 6,600. No, they're tracking about 35,000, and there could be more. So how deep does this problem go? Let's bring in Joshua Treviño. He is the senior director at the America First Policy Institute. Joshua, always good to see you. Thanks for joining me tonight.
Great to see you, Bill.
So the Jersey scandal, I'm going to guess that after we spent some time at the border and all the work that you've done, you were not surprised even a little bit that 6,600 non-citizens, now we can show specifically that they got on the voter rolls. But as we've talked about, and you've made the argument that, look, this problem it's systemic. I mean, it goes beyond just one motor voter rule in New Jersey. So how deep does the problem go, and what should people be concerned about now?
It goes very, very deep, and it's something that affects every community in America. And one thing that you and I talked about when you were on the Mexican border looking directly into cartel territory and to cartel facilities is that it's not just a border state problem. New Jersey is now a border state too. And I think that's something that New Jerseyans and all Americans need to appreciate, that the networks that bring people, that traffic human beings across the Rio Grande, from Mexico, from all points of the world, end in your community. And they bring people to where you live, and they don't just drop them off there. They stay, they affect crime, they affect budgets, they affect ways of life. And to preserve our way of life, we've got to fight back against them.
Joshua, I want to bring us back to the conversation we had at the border. And you're right. I mean, it was really what an eye-opening experience to see these cartel military bases is really what they are, and to see the amount of traffic coming over. Now, at that point, Biden was president, and you described the change when we went from Trump to Biden in 2020 into 2021. I want you to just bring us back there, because Americans are going to face an election, not just in this midterms coming up in 2026, but then under, an open seat for the White House in 2028. What's the difference between Biden and Trump when it comes to what you saw directly on the border?
it's the difference between night and day. And I can tell you, as a native of South Texas, we're from the border. It was the difference between being caught in a deluge and being someplace that was relatively safe. Trump closed the border. Make no mistake about that. The torrent of human trafficking that was bringing literally millions across the border abruptly stopped, which proved, by the way, that anybody saying that it was impossible to control the border was completely wrong. So yes, elections do matter. The office holders do matter, and you will get a different result depending on who you put in office.
Let's talk about the folks that are really, I mean, we call it human trafficking coming from south of the border into the United States. But I would argue, and we've talked about this, that there's a lot of trafficking that happens after they get here. So they get to the American side and all of a sudden buses show up and people are distributed to Michigan and Minnesota and Arizona and, yes, New Jersey. What needs to be done about that? What would you like to see Congress do? I know we've discussed Catholic Charities as one of the groups that sends the buses. And, I've been shouting from the rooftops on this saying, guys, be careful what charities you're giving your money to, because these are enablers to a lot of terrible, terrible things that are going on, specifically with children. What should Congress be looking at to do to slow the roll on this and expose some of the badness happening?
Congress obviously has investigatory powers, and they need to go ahead and apply them to any recipients of federal funds or any organization that's plausibly involved in human trafficking should receive direct and minute attention from Congress. Congress also has a responsibility, and under the Trump admin, they've been meeting it to make sure that the apparatus of enforcement is fully funded, fully able to do the job that it does. And then the final thing I would say that Congress can do is they can make sure that U.S. code does not expose federal agents to undue threats of litigation by dint of doing their job. That was a threat that was held over federal agents in the Biden regime. We should eliminate that tool from the left that hampers our men and women in uniform who enforce our laws.
When you look at this as with the level of expertise and experience that you have, we've got Governor Mikey Sherrill in the blue state of New Jersey, essentially creating a false narrative, focusing on the so-called glitch, focusing on this small number of 6,600 and 400 voting. Meanwhile, knowing full well that just in a preliminary estimate, there are north of 35,000. She's never addressed the 900,000 that are already here. So the question is there a state that is doing it right when it comes to cooperation with the deportations and working with Mark Wayne Mullen at DHS? Because New Jersey's certainly getting it wrong. And it'd be nice to hear who's getting it right so that perhaps the Republican minority caucus can say, hey, guys, we've got a great example here. This is what ought to be happening in a blue state like Jersey.
Absolutely. There are actually several states that are doing things right now. And so this is not to deny credit to any of them, but I'll highlight two. One is, of course, my own Texas, where Governor Abbott has done all the right things in securing our border. The other is the state of Florida, which has really been one of the leaders in state action that cooperates with the federal government in apprehensions, identification, deportations, and so on. There is a section of U.S. Code 287G that enables, if a state chooses to participate in it, that enables state and local law enforcement to cooperate with federal agents in immigration matters. I would strongly encourage the governor of New Jersey, the legislature of New Jersey, to adopt a 287G statute and start cooperating with the feds on the defense of the New Jersey way of life.
Do you think there could be or should be perhaps criminal prosecutions into politicians that have fostered a sanctuary state and actively prevented federal law enforcement from carrying out legal detention orders and going after and rounding up these bad guys?
Well, obviously, anybody who interferes with the lawful operation of the federal government is, properly subject to prosecution, I think, in any walk of life. The ultimate solution to this, though, and I think it's important to emphasize this, is elections. Elections have consequences, and you will get the policies based upon the policymakers that one puts into office.
It's a great point. Joshua Treviño, always great to see you. Thanks for checking in with us. Senior Director at the America First Policy Institute. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks, Josh. House Republicans pushing forward with a major border security bill to permanently lock in President Trump's immigration agenda. The Permanent Trump Secure Border Act cleared the Judiciary Committee on Tuesday along party lines. Authored by Rep. Chip Roy, the legislation would end catch and release, crack down on visa overstays, tighten asylum rules, and boost border technology and staffing. Supporters say it's essential to prevent a future president from reversing Trump's executive actions. Turning to New York City, a socialist mayor, Zohran Mamdani, he's facing widespread mockery after admitting he can't actually arrest Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu after all, despite repeatedly promising to do so on the campaign trail. In a viral video, the communist mayor called Netanyahu a war criminal and said he explored ways for the city to enforce an ICC warrant, but conceded they actually don't have the power.
It is clear that we do not have the independent legal authority to enforce this warrant. The federal government, however, does, and I call on them to join the ICC and execute this warrant. And I want to be equally clear. Benjamin Netanyahu is not welcome in New York City, nor is any other war criminal at large.
Republicans and Democrats alike have slammed the remarks as just anti-Semitic political theater. Two far-left House Democrats have been left red-faced after a botched social media attack on moderate Democrat New Jersey Congressman Josh Gottheimer. Representative Summer Lee accused Gottheimer, who is Jewish, of signing bombs headed to Ukraine, apparently mixing him up with Pennsylvania's Jewish Governor Josh Shapiro. Now, for that, Ilhan Omar jumped in to defend her, but Gottheimer quickly turned the tables, pointing out that both Lee and Omar had voted for the $60 billion Ukraine aid package themselves. This embarrassing exchange comes as Democrats fracture over Israel funding, with Lee and Omar backing an amendment to slash aid to the Jewish state. Now, for his part, Gottheimer, it's a stretch to call him a moderate. I mean, this is a guy that has actively and aggressively gone after pregnancy resource centers. It seems Josh Gottheimer will just kind of look to the wind and the polls to decide what he stands for. But the takeaway is the Democrats are tearing themselves apart, making what was far left yesterday seem moderate because the radicals are in charge now. Democrat Party is almost completely lost to left-wing socialists, really communists. And the moderates, well, could they start jumping ship, switching from blue to red? Senate Republicans are openly welcoming the idea of Pennsylvania United States Senator John Fetterman to get him to leave the Democrat Party. Now, with the majority razor thin, Majority Leader John Thune said he'd happily welcome the maverick Democrat into the GOP conference. Fetterman has repeatedly broken with his party over his strong support for Israel and the war against Iran, warning he would leave Democrats if they become the party that is anti-Israel. In a turbulent year for media, major layoffs are sweeping the industry, from Disney's ESPN and ABC, cutting dozens of jobs, to right here in our region where News 12 is restructuring and letting go at least 30 people on staff. Lisa Marie Falbo, partner and owner of On New Jersey, talks about what this means for local journalism and the viewers who depend on it. Now let's bring in one of our great sponsors, Adriana Lombardi, Dr. Lombardi from the Skin Cancer and Cosmetic Surgery Center of NJ.
Here at the Skin Cancer and Cosmetic Surgery Center, we really love to get to know our patients. We want to work together with them to reach their goals and make them feel the most comfortable they can. I was planning to open the Skin Cancer and Cosmetic Surgery Center. I wanted a personalized approach to medicine. I felt that medicine was getting commercialized in general, and I had a vision of opening my own practice, including my sister, who's a medical esthetician, and being able to treat the patient as a whole. We offer cosmetic procedures, we offer skin cancer surgery, we have general dermatology visits, and different types of non-invasive aesthetic treatments all under one roof.
I focus on non-invasive treatments that help better your skin health and help you also feel good from the inside out.
I try to approach each patient like a family member. I really love to get to know my patients. We have their best interests in mind, so we want to hold their hand on their journey of feeling better about themselves or getting the right treatment done.
Whether it's something non-invasive to something more invasive, we want to make sure that we're thoroughly explaining what the procedure entails, and we're also managing their expectations so we are both on the same page when it comes to results.
Here in the office, I made a promise that we would always use the highest end technology, the most innovative technology and techniques for our patients.
That goes from cool sculpting to Cutera's microneedling device that also is for skin tightening. And then we have different types of lasers by the Luminous that also deliver great results for pigmentation or scars, wrinkles, anything you're looking to address.
After the procedures in our office, our patients often feel so much better about themselves, and people go about life a little bit differently when you have more confidence. So I really feel like it's so important to be the best version of yourself.
Dr. Adriana Lombardi, Skin Cancer and Cosmetic Surgery Center of NJ. Visit their website for more info, sccsnj.com. Welcome back to Speak for America. I am Bill Spadea. Let's jump right back in. The Trump administration freezing more than $1 billion in federal Medicaid funding to California and Minnesota over suspected fraud. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. said today the money stays on hold until Governors Newsom and Walz provide documentation proving the claims are legitimate. California faces an $867 million freeze, while Minnesota facing more than a $200 million freeze. Federal officials cite payments to deceased patients, high-risk providers, and questionable in-home services. Kennedy and CMS Administrator Dr. Mehmet Oz say no more taxpayer dollars will flow without proof. A heated moment on Capitol Hill during testimony from Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. Michigan Democratic Senator Gary Peters raised his voice, yelling at the Defense Secretary, but Hegseth fired back.
The men and women are going to be able to do it, but they need to have leadership. When will you show leadership? When will you show leadership?
Why don't you show some leadership and stand up to your fellow Democrats who won't fund the troops, who stand and play partisan politics while you don't give us the money? You want to stand up here and talk about the troops? You won't show any political courage to actually fund our department because you have Trump derangement syndrome and can't actually commit to anything meaningful. So I put this on you, Senator.
Leave it to the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, to give it right back. I love it. The exchange underscored, of course, the ongoing partisan tensions over funding of the Department of War. Meanwhile, Secretary Hegseth says the Department of War will offer testosterone deficiency screening for soldiers 30 years and older.
I'm authorizing a new screening program for testosterone deficiency for our service members, ensuring you have the right testosterone levels to operate at your absolute best.
Now, if the treatment is recommended, soldiers will have the option for testosterone replacement therapy. But this is really a very aggressive move by the Secretary of War to say it's time we bring back toughness and masculinity and value it. Flies in the face of all the woke nonsense calling masculinity toxic. It's a very good step. A federal appeals court has rejected former President Joe Biden's emergency bid to permanently block the release of audio recordings and transcripts from his interviews with a memoir ghostwriter. The D.C. Circuit ruled Monday that the public interest in the materials obtained during special counsel Robert Hur's classified documents probe outweighs Biden's privacy concerns. The court has kept a temporary hold in place until August 3rd, giving Biden time to appeal further. The recordings sought by the Heritage Foundation through FOIA include Biden's 2016 and 2017 conversations that Hur's team cited in its report. More to come on that. Stay tuned. In a year already marked by deep cuts across the media landscape, more major players are tightening their belts, raising fresh questions about the future of local and national journalism. From Disney's ESPN and ABC laying off dozens to News 12 in the Northeast, restructuring and cutting at least 30 positions right here. The industry is undergoing rapid and, for many, painful changes. Parent company Altus USA says News 12 is evolving to match how audiences now consume news across platforms. But of course, for journalists and viewers who rely on boots on the ground reporting, the human cost, it's a real one. Joining me now, Lisa Marie Falbo. She is partner and owner of On New Jersey, a voice for independent local journalism in the Garden State. Lisa, always great to see you. Thanks for being with me tonight.
Thank you, Bill, and thank you for gracing us with your presence on our airwaves.
I love it. It is really great to be here. It's such a professional platform, and what a fantastic team. And actually, that really speaks volumes to how people are consuming news in a different way. But let me get your what's your take? You've been in the news business a long time, and we know things are changing. We know that people can look at their news and get their news from so many different platforms. But when you saw the wave of layoffs, ESPN, National Geographic, Disney, ABC, News 12, broader cuts are places, even across the pond, BBC, the Associated Press, CBS. What is your read about, number one, why is this happening, and why is it happening so aggressively right now?
My heart goes out to everyone, obviously, that lost their jobs. You never want to see anyone get laid off, but it's kind of inevitable. I mean, look at the show we're doing right now, right? We have a producer, we have a technical director, we have you, and that's it. Maybe somebody to help here and there. We're doing this show with less than 5 people. So I think Disney, ESPN, Altice, they're looking at where it's all going, and they're realizing they don't need a newsroom of 20 people, 30 people to do a show that we're doing right now with less than 5.
Yeah. It's a great point, Lisa Marie. I mean, you think about it, right? So News 12 restructuring Bronx, Brooklyn, Westchester, Connecticut, all into one streamlined broadcasting. Now, they are keeping full programming on Long Island and New Jersey, but what does it mean to the viewers? Because I just from a radio perspective, I can talk about the fact that I've been in radio for now going on, oh my goodness, 14 years. And the reality is that people have been talking about radio being dead for a long time, but instead it's evolving. More and more of my listeners are now going on the app. And as you say, people are watching this, are not necessarily watching it when we broadcast it. They could be just picking up their phone and watching it later. So what's your take from your experience? Where does this end?
Well, radio is evolving, but so is television. Look again at what we're doing right now. I think News 12, it's so sad to see because News 12 was the hyper-local news station. And I understand that they say they're staying in New Jersey, but if you turn on News 12 New Jersey right now, you're not seeing Jersey stories 24/7. That change to become regionalized is already happening. So in a media desert that we are here in New Jersey, it's such a disservice to our citizens because we already have 10 other stations locally that are from New York that kind of do New Jersey news, but News 12 was the difference maker, and they are just giving all of that up, obviously because of budgets and whatnot. But that's why it's so important what we're doing here with On New Jersey, being that Garden State network 24/7 on streaming, on apps, reaching those cable cutters that are happening en masse every single day. It's important to evolve. That's what we are doing. And a lot of these stations have to make these unfortunate cuts to hopefully evolve with the times too.
Do you think, from your experience running On New Jersey, I mean, do you think that it's just more of a shift than a downsize, that a lot of these folks are going to end up on these hyper-local stations? Because I think you're right. And again, between radio and On New Jersey and the other, got these independent journalists that are out there, people are looking for, hey, what's happening immediately in my hometown? Do you think this just means there'll be an expansive network of new journalists coming up and everybody's got a phone and a camera and it'll actually grow the industry?
It could be. You see it now. News is getting broken on X, on TikTok.
Yeah.
So more and more we're going to that way. But if the media companies want to survive, they have to evolve and figure out how they can make their mark on those platforms as well. But the way they're doing it right now, and obviously they've recognized that, it's just not sustainable.
Yeah. So most of it cost, some of it consumption, I'm sure. But what happens to these experienced reporters? I mean, I'm sure you're getting a lot of calls. You got somebody that, let's say they're in their 50s, they've done this now for sometimes 20 years, 30 years or more, and boom, you lose a job. You're too young to retire, but you're not the 20-something going out there working 20 hours a day. What's some advice that you have for these folks that are being laid off?
I have gotten those calls a lot through the years, and I've mentored people to become media entrepreneurs. If you are an Emmy award-winning on-air anchor, maybe instead of trying to get another job doing the same thing, especially since those jobs are at a premium right now, maybe look into starting your own podcast, starting your own blog, or even doing media coaching, because people definitely need that, right? I think the people's biggest fear is public speaking more than death. So I think a lot of people could benefit from media coaching. But I think take the time, figure out where your passions lie. Don't go right into the fire, because again, there's not a lot of opportunities out there right now.
Yeah.
So take this as your time to make your mark your way.
Great advice. Lisa Marie Falbo, great to see you. Talk soon.
Thank you, Bill. Talk to you soon.
You got it. A parasitic infection called cyclosporiosis is surging across more than 40 states this summer. As families head into peak summer eating season, registered dietitian and nutrition expert Annessa Chumbley joins me to discuss what you should be watching for. Welcome back to Speak for America. I am Bill Spadea. All right, listen to this. The parasitic infection called cyclosporiosis that was reported in more than 40 states this summer has been linked to contaminated fresh produce like imported lettuce. Now, the illness causes severe watery diarrhea, fatigue, and other symptoms which can linger for weeks. Joining me now, Annessa Chumbley, a registered dietitian, nutrition expert, and TV host. Annessa, great to see you again. Thanks for joining me tonight.
Hi, Bill. Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
So let's it's kind of gross to even talk about, but look, for me, when I think of vegetables, I let the cow eat the vegetable first, and then I just eat the steak. But I understand I may not be, I'm probably one of the few doing just that. People are going to have their summer salads, etc. And iceberg lettuce is a nice, refreshing side, but you're seeing thousands of these cases nationwide. So tell me a little bit about the parasite, how it spreads, and is it increased in these warmer months?
Yeah, Bill, I had a feeling that was the case about you, which just means you've got to have me on more. That way I can convince you to eat your fresh fruits and veggies, because you need energy and to feel your highest quality. So here's the thing. This is fascinating. And what I want your viewers to stay rooted in is truth, so they can take useful action and skip the panic. So I'm going to give you all the tips. Cyclospora comes from, this is not fun to talk about, you're right, but it comes from human feces. But what happens is it infects contaminated water and soil, and it has this maturation process of about a week or two in those places before it clings to produce, and you get it from ingesting it. So the good news is it's not passed person to person. Okay. So it's only going to come through food. Okay. It is. But now there are some things that we need to watch out for, as the FDA and the CDC are on it. And it takes a lot of detective work, because I just said that takes a couple weeks for that to mature to an infection. And then once you ingest it, Bill, you could not see any symptoms for a week or two. And then you could have it for a month. So here's the thing. Let's break it down. What we're staying away from right now is shredded iceberg lettuce, anything that's packaged. Stay away from all of that. There's other foods that have been culprits in the past, such as raspberries, green onions, basil. Here's a couple of things. Most importantly, cyclospora, that spore, that parasite, dies by being heated. It's not going to die by freezing. It's not going to die by washing. You heat it. So don't throw out, if you are a fruit and veggie lover like myself, take those raspberries, cook them into a jam. I take all that fresh basil, green onions. Anytime you heat them above 158 degrees Fahrenheit, it dies. So you're covered there. Any shredded iceberg lettuce, right now, we're staying away until we find out more.
So let me ask. Let's say I buy the iceberg lettuce at the store. It's wrapped. It's a whole head. What should I be washing the lettuce in warm water, or no? You really just need to stay away from it until this passes.
No, actually, you can go ahead. Okay, so I've got romaine out here. Here's what you're going to do. Any fresh produce that you get, I want you to wash it under cool running water. That is the best
Okay.
one. You don't need any kind of special washes. Cut that off, remove the outer leaves, Bill. This is what you're going to do because you are going to enjoy some produce when you get home. Just take all of that off. You can use the rest of the veg. Make sure that you wash your hands when it comes to any other veg, even those with thick skin. I want you just to give a light scrub to any fresh fruits and vegetables and still go ahead and consume those. Okay. They're still
So
going
what
to be
about things
safe
like,
to eat.
Annessa, what about things like carrots? Like better off to peel it?
Yeah. Peel it, wash it the way you would. The cool thing here, Bill, is not only do we have the grocery store, but it's summer. So you've got all of those great farmers markets. You can support local, get out, buy your lettuces, fresh fruits and vegetables from there. But any that you see that would be culprits, again, you're just going to heat them to destroy them. Something I want to make sure your viewers know, though, the only way to get rid of this once you have it is to go see your doctor and get on the antibiotic. That's the only way to get rid of this parasite. Okay. Now, here's where your dietitian comes in. I want you to balance out that antibiotic. I love my natural remedies, Bill. So I want you to drink a probiotic daily because you've got to replace the bad guys with the good guys. And that's what probiotics I have all my patients and clients drinking kefir every day because it's really, you want your gut. Let me speak in your language. You want it to be strong and manly, okay?
Right.
And you want it to be
Right.
able to
Right.
do its job and do it well, fighting off the bad guys and defending your body and keeping you healthy.
Can you, Ines, I'm glad you brought up the kefir because I'm a big believer in natural foods. I drink raw milk, raw cream. We try not to eat anything processed. My wife, Jody, loves kefir. We stopped buying it that has sugar in it, like some of the flavored ones. But let me ask you this. What does it actually do? What does it mean they're probiotics? Is the drink alive? Explain it to people because I think a lot of people are afraid of things like that. And it's kind of an acquired taste.
Yeah, it is. I like to give people a heads up. It tastes a little bit like yogurt. It's got a soured flavor. I absolutely love my country. We know this, but our friends across the pond do fermented foods a little bit better. We should be eating those every day. Here, let me tell you, Bill, the gut is the gateway to the body. That's how God made it. So you want it. It's almost like a metaphor for soil. Soil should be rich with lots of different life-giving organisms. Well, we're just now one of the reasons, Bill, I love the body and nutrition is because when the creator made it, we are still discovering things that we didn't know. One of those is the importance of gut health and its connection with mental health, its connection with your immune system. A good portion of serotonin, I tell my kids that's the happy Disney World feeling, right? About 70% of it is created by cells in the gut. So here's what happens when you drink something like kefir. What it does, so it is a drink that came to us from across the pond. Our friends over there brought it over. Particularly, there was one family that saw, you know what, Americans need to be drinking this. So they started making it in their basement. And then they started selling it to other people. I'm sure you can make it at home. If you want it convenient, you can buy it at the store. But it lines the gut with probiotics, living organisms. What I like to make sure, though, that people do is get one that I know those probiotics are going to get to the gut and stay, okay? The wellness industry is huge, and I like to be careful about what people take. We talked to, natural remedies. I love them. So get a kefir that those probiotics are going to get to your gut, and they're going to do your job fighting off bad bacteria. They're the gateway. So they're going to let the good guys in, keep the bad guys out. So
I love it.
Not only should you drink it every day, I love that your wife is a huge fan, and I love that you're into natural remedies. But if your viewers are going on that antibiotic, they need to balance it with a probiotic, other nutrient-rich, easy foods on the gut while you are healing from the awful cyclospora. Let's just get past it, right?
I love it. Smart advice. I can't wait for our upcoming conversation in a week or so about barbecue and the meats and the pork and everything else. We'll get there. Annessa. Great to see you again. Thanks for coming on. Annessa Chumbley, registered dietitian and nutrition expert. We'll see you soon. Can't make this up. The Miami Heat may have just spoiled their own free agency plans. The team's official YouTube account briefly posted, then quickly unlisted a scheduled live stream titled LeBron James Introductory Press Conference set for July 27th. A Heat spokesperson called it preparation for a possible signing, but the slip-up has fans convinced King James is headed back to South Beach. And you can't make this up. During Donald Trump's latest speech, an audience member seated directly behind him began perfectly imitating his hand gestures and signature head movements. Take a look.
And more money is being invested in the United States right now than at any time in the history of our country. And Americans are working today more so than ever before. We have more jobs today than we've ever had, and it's not even close.
Fantastic. The clip, of course, exploded online, with many calling the moment brutally funny. No doubt this impersonation stole the show. All right, guys, thank you for watching. I really enjoy spending time with you and look forward to continuing to speak for America. I am Bill Spadea. Keep the faith, keep the fight. I'll see you next time.